Joining us now to discuss BTC price and more news is Valkyrie CIO and co-founder Stephen McClurg. Hello there, Steve. Okay, so what's your outlook on Bitcoin? Are we still seeing some residual Fed reaction from Friday? I mean, we did see Bitcoin go below $20,000. Now there's a bit of a bounce. What's going on?
Well, thanks for having me, Christine, as always. What we're seeing right now is a reaction to the statements from the Fed last week. Chairman Powell in April and May made several comments about their approach to inflation. And we knew that it was going to be a massive risk-off environment at that point in time. And really all he did after Jackson Hole was reiterate those statements that no, the markets are not going to command what the Fed does. They're going to continue to fight inflation and do whatever it takes. And he even brought in the spirit of Volcker and praised Volcker as a hero, which we know what happened in the late 70s and early 80s as a result of the Volcker rule, where interest rates went very, very high to battle inflation that had gotten out of control in the 70s.
All right. So what are you anticipating in the Fed meeting this September? And when will these, what we're anticipating as large rate hike happening, when will they succeed in curbing inflation?
Well, I think it's going to take a very long time to curb inflation. A year ago, this time, the Fed, Janet Yellen, most of the current administration all called inflation transitory and refused to address the problems that we were all seeing in the market. And they finally decided to take action. And, there's been 10 years or more of a very loose monetary policy and then ignoring inflation a year ago. And they're finally taking action. So it could take 2 years or more to beat inflation. We've got we got three more Fed meetings this year. The first one coming in September, and then we have two more coming as well in November, right before the midterm elections, and in December. So at the current rate, which the Fed target rate is 2.5% now, we're expecting the Fed target rate to get up to 4% by the end of the year. The market is expecting 3.5%, but we think the Fed is going to have to take more action by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I had a chance to go over a bit of your notes earlier, and you actually think inflation will go up at the end of the year?
We do. So energy prices, so the last inflation print, people kind of applauded it for being flat or down. It wasn't really either. It was flat month to month, but it was only due to a couple of items. Everything else was actually going up. So the only two items that was down was gasoline prices, first of all, and that was due to release of strategic oil reserves, and that was a one-time event. And then used car prices coming down. Food costs, home costs, everything else had actually gone up. And we expect those costs to continue to rise through the end of the year. So we do continue to see higher inflation, and the Fed is going to have to tackle that.
Oh, wow. And so what is your outlook in September, given that there's probably going to be a big rate increase? The merge in Ethereum is coming for Ethereum. And, there has been talk that perhaps Mt. Gox's creditors will get some Bitcoin back in September. So it just seems like a very vast mix of chaos that could happen. What's your outlook for September?
Well, September, trying to nail down September itself is very difficult, or any kind of short-term move. But what we've essentially seen is a retest of lows in Bitcoin. Hasn't quite gone down to 17,000, which was the previous low. But we're essentially there, and we might see a triple testing coming up as well. I think Bitcoin we're pretty close to the bottom of Bitcoin, despite all of these things that are happening. But anytime that you have a very hawkish Fed policy and liquidity is being pulled out of the system, it's almost like a weight of gravity holding on to all risk assets, including Bitcoin, including all of the crypto. So despite things like the merge, which is a lot of excitement around the ETH community and a force that's trying to move ETH up. You've got that weight, you've got that gravity coming from the Fed, and it's going to weigh on all risk assets. It doesn't matter what good news we get locally, it's going to be very hard to overcome that gravity. So I think through at least into the midterm elections, we should see markets generally down. But like I mentioned before, Bitcoin is pretty close to the bottom, so it's probably a little bit safer to go to than other risk assets.
Mm-hmm. And yet you do see some opportunities. Tell me, where are the opportunities?
Well, there's a lot of opportunities in shorting markets right now. With the Fed action and the Fed's response after Jackson Hole and the likely scenarios of inflation, we believe equity markets are going to continue to go down, probably another 15 to 20%, which isn't terrible, depending on how far the Fed has to go. But you also have to keep in mind that risk assets are also inflationary themselves, so they are a bit of a flight to safety from cash. So things like Bitcoin, it's an opportunity to be in it, to start legging in. I don't think that I would go full tilt at this point in time. There's also a lot of risk around the ETH merge, so we've actually been pulling back ahead of Jackson Hole and ahead of the final merge for various reasons in ETH and other protocols. But as far as opportunities go, I think you still want to keep dry powder at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. And did I read something about, in opportunities in mining and electricity? Where do you see that?
Yeah, I think any commodity right now is a good chance to play inflation. So whether you're going long energy or really any other commodity, miners are down significantly right now. So we think that Bitcoin mining companies are another really interesting play at the moment. And we certainly see that there's opportunities to start moving into it. If we're close to a bottom, then it's obviously a good place to go. But not going all in. Keeping some dry powder is really smart right now too.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to switch to a story that is getting a lot of attention in the crypto industry right now, and that's this Ava Labs story and Kyle Roach and this crypto leaks report. So first of all, it's had an effect on price of Avalanche. And back in May, Valkyrie launched an Avalanche trust for traditional investors looking to gain exposure to the Avalanche ecosystem, and AVAX fell to its lowest price since July after a self-described whistleblower website alleged that Ava Labs paid lawyers to hurt competitors and keep regulators at bay. What action are you seeing in the trust?
Yeah, we're not really seeing any negative action in the trust at all, other than obviously the price of Avalanche itself. And when we saw the story come out, we thought that it sounded a little bit ridiculous. It sounds a bit conspiracy theorist, and and obviously, and then after digging in, and then of course the statement came out from Ava Labs that a lot of the comments were overblown. We tend to stand beside that.
All right. So what are your thoughts on Kyle Roach and the allegations that his firm is filing class action lawsuits against competitors of Ava Labs?
That's really hard for me to believe. We know their legal team at Ava Labs pretty well. And not just the legal team, but also the compliance team. And they're some of the most straight-laced people that we've met. And if there was something going on, it certainly wasn't going through the legal or compliance team. And I've known those particular team members for a very long time. And they've worked on some really hard, issues, not just at Ava Labs, but in other places. They certainly are, they know securities laws really well. The GC is probably one of the most respected attorneys in crypto. So, I don't really have any issues with that. I think it's probably very overblown.
All right. And The report also contains various videos of Roche making questionable statements that he himself says were taken without consent during meetings with someone who he says is linked to ICP, the Internet Commuter Protocol, which his firm has a lawsuit against. Did you see the videos, and what was your reaction?
You know, I did watch some of the videos, and I thought they were really bizarre. And even if there was, you know, I go back to the statement that was made by Ava Labs, and if you see the videos and you read the statement by Ava Labs, I tend to side on the side of what Ava Labs is saying, that, you know, he was potentially, you know, bragging about something that may not have happened to a potential client, and it just seemed like very, very bizarre statements out of somebody, and it doesn't seem like that person is linked to Ava Labs at the moment. So, but yeah, we did certainly look into that this morning, and it seems to be, in our opinion, a little bit overblown.
All right. Well, there's been broad reaction. There's a now deleted tweet from Binance CEO CZ saying he's not sure if it's true, but that Binance was a target of Roche's law firm. Ari Paul of Block Tower Capital assumes it's as bad as it looks, or directionally true, though Brad Garlinghouse of Ripple denies ever meeting Roche or investing in him, contrary to allegations made in the crypto leak report.